Recording is supposedly going to. Excellent. So, welcome back, guys. Um, I honestly have lost track of how many sessions we are, but hey, who's really keeping track? As you may or may not know, today is our sort of little guest session where we have the lovely Lieutenant Commander Maddock from the Arcadia group coming in. Looks like he will be kind of our engineer for the session, which works out because Bishop or Murthrin is. I don't think he's going to join us. I think he's at work, is how things worked out. The only other sort of like pseudo announcement I have is we might be taking a week break in a couple of weeks, simply because I will be out of town that week. But more details on that as we get closer. Unless anyone has any announcements of their own, though, let's roll into the captain's log.
Captain's log, stardate 55037.0. The Ophion has kept station at the Bajorn system at Deep Space Nine, preparing for Starfleet Specialist, Lieutenant Commander John Maddock, arrival, who will be performing as yet disclosed upgrades to the Ophion sensors. The engineering team has torn many bulkheads apart in accordance with the pre-project plan, leaving our ship open and exposed around the sensor arrays. Murthrin is both annoyed and excited at the prospect of this project. As for this John Maddock, very little of his record is unclassified. Most of his work is classified as need to know while serving on the Arcadia in the Shackleton Expanse, and then his time at the Daystrom Institute is similarly impenetrable. There is still Starfleet activity in the Expanse, though, the USS Bellerophon under Admiral Haru, but there is little there that would indicate any activity worth classifying. But I guess that's the point. I admit to being curious, but I must respect Starfleet's desire to classify his work. After all, our own discoveries are similarly classified, and if I wished to breach Starfleet's classified protocols, I would certainly not indicate wishing to doing so in these logs. End log.
That's sort of, I could do it, but if I am, I'm not going to tell you. Showing at least more self-awareness than Cisco recording that whole log and then deleting it. It's like, come on, Cisco, what are you doing? Anyway, not to get off track. So obviously you guys have been at DS9 for a couple weeks now. And I did want to tie up one very quick scene with Beckett since he was not here last week. Beckett, you get a message from Quark that would, necessitate you meeting him in person.
I knew this call was coming.
We'll just use theater. I'll put you on the map. Why not? So yeah, I'm assuming you do go to meet Quark?
Sure.
Okay. So, you find Quark where he always is, or at least seems to be on the station, behind the bar at Quark's. And as soon as you walk in, Quark kind of waves you down, flags you closer to the bar, tells Morn to shut up, and says, Commander Beckett, your captain told me you had some announcements about your delivery of Beckett Brew. Or is it Beckett Lager? I forget what we're calling it now.
Actually, it's just called whatever I decide on that day, pretty much. So, to repay your help in our previous situation, I do have a couple of cases of the last... what's the word I'm looking for? The last batch that I made. That I think it's been called the Andromeda Ale, seeing as
Classified.
We've been through this.
have we been through this?
Yes.
Yeah, you weren't here.
Okay.
We were all scolded.
We're calling the Andromeda Ale just for sounded like a nice name. And the
go ahead. Sorry.
everything just kind of goes together.
Quark raises an eyebrow and says, well, that's an interesting name. It'll be fine. I'll be able to sell it pretty well. I mean, I already have a back order for 24 cases of the stuff. Oh, speaking of which, and he grumbles a little bit, but he does pull out a small little pouch and clunks it down on the bar between you two, and you do in fact hear the distinct clack and clink of latinum in the bag.
Wonderful. I'll kind of hold it in one hand and kind of toss it up and down. Do I need to count it?
I could quote a Ferengi rule of acquisition at you, but I think you know better.
Very well. I will do my best to get that back order filled.
Excellent. Well, here's to this new ale, and he'll pour you a glass of whatever you want before you leave the bar on the house.
All right. I will milk it for a little bit and then head back to the ship.
Okay. I suppose I can open up to everyone. Did anyone want to do anything before Matic and +1 arrived?
I personally, if because obviously as a player I wasn't here, but if refilling our medical supply stock.
No, yeah, that I assumed you stopping over at DS9, you've gotten everything back stocked like you need it across all departments.
Okay, perfect.
Pinnock will suggest to the captain that we should set up a security patrol or station some security around the open conduits because, well, Romulans did try to get aboard last time we were at Deep Space Nine, so I don't want to give them an easy target.
Agreed, and it sounds like this modification work is still quite heavily classified. We don't want a particular individual who wants to know and gain the upper hand in corporate espionage to come aboard.
All right. So obviously that can happen. You can either station actual security personnel, or you could try out your emergency security holograms and see how those do. Either would work fine.
We'll do a mix.
Locke would also recommend parking shuttles on the exterior of the ship at those areas with the sensors going, since our own sensors might be down.
Good call. Good call. I don't know, Captain, do you go through it, or do you rely pretty much that DS9 will sense whatever might be coming?
I mean, if there are gaping holes in the side of my ship, stationing stuff there to further obscure perform work. Obviously, I would tell the Captain Kira that there is confidential goings-on happening on board my vessel, and request that she keep her crew away.
Mm-hmm.
And captain's, a captain's deal, so to speak.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
I'm also curious now that we're back on Deep Space Nine. What happened to that agoraphobic engineer?
Ah, yes, him. Long story short, he was transferred back. We're not really transferred so much as transported. He was taken back to... Crap, I'm drawing a blank. One of the very premier, mental institutes I think it's on Earth. It's the one where they have all of the augments that we see sometimes in DS9.
Oh, yeah, I don't know the names either.
Yeah, I forget the name of it off the top of my head.
Well, I wish that he gets the best of health and perhaps he can serve Starfleet again.
Guess time will tell. In any event, if that's everything, question mark?
I'm satiated.
Okay. Then let us cut ahead to, and I'm gonna put you on this map. Yes, I made it. Okay. So obviously, Skull, you get a message that says that your specialist and a +1 is ready to beam aboard. My curiosity and probably guesstimate is that you might want to be there.
Yeah.
But did you want to bring anyone else with you?
Pinnock and Mirthrin would be good representatives.
Okay, where's Panek? There's Panek. Oh god, he has a tiny token.
He's tiny.
Alright, there's Panek, and I will do my best, Mirthrin, to play you. Best I've been able to tell. So, just the three of them then?
That
would
seems
be
reasonable.
Skull, Panek,
Well,
Mirthrin.
we're dealing with sensors, so Locke would probably be a good guy too.
Let's just get everybody in here.
Sure.
Let's
Everybody.
Everybody's here.
Everybody but the doctor. Who needs a doctor?
I don't know, Beckett, do you want to be there? You certainly can if you want.
I don't really think I would have anything to add to upgrading sensors, so.
Alright.
I mean, unless Mirthrin, like, fries himself somehow, but.
I don't know, Captain, do you order him to show up, or are we just going to let Beckett be Beckett?
No, if Beckett is Beckett, then Beckett can be Beckett.
Okay. You were saying something, Panek.
I was just gonna say, Deep Space Nine didn't give a name to that place. It's just referred as a Federation Institute.
Ah, okay. Oh, yeah, to answer the question in the chat, my understanding of canon, at least beta canon, is that Kira does get promoted to captain in Starfleet. It's like 2377, maybe? Nah, it's minutia. Anyway, it's supposedly canon, so that's what we're running with. Anyways, Mirthrin dismisses the transporter chief that's usually in here, a nameless red shirt, and Mirthrin just looks to the captain to give the order to energize.
Bring him aboard.
All right, so I'm going to put the 2 tokens on the map, and then I will describe who you see, and of course, Matic, if I say anything incorrect, feel free to correct me. Anyway, so the transporter energizes, and before you on the pad begins to materialize 2 individuals. The first is a male human. He stands at about 6 feet tall, has a shaved head, and a rather impressive beard. He wears Starfleet gold, as well as 2 yellow and 1 black pip, to signify that he is Lieutenant Commander. You're pretty sure that unless a shapeshifter replaced him en route, this is probably Matic, your specialist. The second individual is a woman of a species you've either probably not seen before or had very few encounters with, simply because of their location in the quadrant. The Serrato Draco, as her species is known, stands closer to 7 feet tall if you account for her rather imposing horns that jut out from a stylized cut of white hair. She also sports noticeable ears, scaling along her extremities, and a tail. Unlike Matic, she is clad in Science's blue and has a black bar with 3 light blue lines that signifies the rank of Senior Chief Specialist. And yeah, Matic and Hailong, they have both materialized, and I'm going to let you players play.
Okay, I'll step forward. Lieutenant Commander Matic and Chief Hailong, welcome aboard the Ophion.
Glad to be here, Captain. I'll reach out and shake his hand.
I'm Captain Skull, of course. May I introduce my XO, Lieutenant Commander Panek, and the 2 individuals you will probably be working most with, Lieutenant Locke, our science officer, and Lieutenant Commander Mirthrin, our chief engineer.
Welcome aboard, Lieutenant Commander.
Hello.
Mirthrin waves from the back.
This is my assistant, Senior Chief Hailong.
And Hailong does a very, I guess you would call it a Japanese-style bow, where she goes probably about halfway inclined and says, "It's a pleasure to meet you all."
Likewise. I'll try and mimic the greeting.
Okay. I'll say for sake of flavor, she will always try to go a little bit more inclined than you are. Though in the case of an infinite loop, she will stop at a certain point.
Naturally.
We have made quarters on Deck 3 available for your use. Would you prefer to stop there to refresh from your journey?
No, I been hanging out on the station for a couple days. I'm ready to get to work. We'll just drop off our personal effects and see what all's been done pre-planning wise.
How long? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Would you prefer to see the work site, or are we going to get a technical briefing of what you're going to do to my ship?
Well, it's your ship, Captain.
I smile a little bit. Have an investigation of the workspace, and then I'd like a senior meeting with the senior staff and the senior engineering staff in 3 hours.
All right, sounds good.
All right. So, reading the scene, we'll say that Matic and Hylong, of course. Well, I would ask this: who, if anyone, would be escorting them around? Would it be Panek? Would it be Locke? Would it be Mirthrin? Would it be the captain?
Oh, the captain's more than happy to hand him off to Panek or.
Yeah, I'll walk them down with Locke and Mirthrin, and I'm not going to hang around. I'm just going to make sure that the security holograms are up, and kind of wave my hand at the condo and say get to work already.
Okay. So, of note, Matic, you do in fact find, from what you've been shown, that all of your specifications have been met for preparation for your work. It does seem that certain areas of the sensor array might need a little bit more work than others, but in general, things are good to go.
I make sure to activate the holograms in front of Matic, just so he's impressed.
Ah.
So, security holograms on all decks?
There are holoprojectors on every deck except for certain ones, high security ones.
Interesting. Are they able to actually function in a fight, or are they just for show?
So far, we've not had any boarding action. I'm interested in seeing how they perform, but they are fully functional.
They should perform as well as any combat simulation in a holodeck.
I mean, I'm used to running around with a couple axes. Isn't that right, Chief? I kind of smile at Hylong.
Hylong giggles and actually walks up to one of the holograms and starts circling it like a cat, like stalking its prey. And after a moment, she looks at Panek and says, "Would you mind if I tried something?"
He'll raise an eyebrow and motion with his hands that she's free to carry on.
Okay. I'm going to roll for her in this instance. This is purely to get you guys some momentum. But I have every confidence that she will pass. So let's see. Daring plus security. Dice pool 2. She does have an applicable focus. Well, there you go. You guys start off with 2 momentum. So what Hylong does is, on her second pass around the security hologram, she slams the palm of her hand very forcefully into the hologram's back. And in the process, when the hologram begins to recoil and reel from the shock, she uses her other hand to wrap around the hologram's neck and slam it to the ground. And obviously the hologram struggles, but she's got it in a very nice hold. And she kind of laughs again and says, might want to get a Klingon or a Serato Draco to take a look at these.
I will put Lieutenant Shatsu on it right away.
Excellent. And
I'm sorry, Commander Maddox, did you say an axe?
Yes. The thing that you use to chop down trees.
Is that standard issue on your ship?
Holodeck program.
Of course, that's not quite something you expect to see someone running around the deck of a starship wielding for defense.
I don't know. I'm sure in both of our times we've seen some strange things on these ships.
Have you ever seen a giant heart in the place of a warp reactor?
No.
See, okay, we win.
Have you ever seen a bioengineered ship that everyone thought was alive but wasn't?
So it's by energy, alive, both alive and not alive? Can't say I have.
Sure you're winning?
Hailong does one of those step in front of, like, in between you two and says, gentlemen, please. I'm sure we can all have the my ship is better argument later. We do have things to attend to.
If there's nothing else, gentlemen, ma'am, I will retire back to the bridge. Try not to assault any more of my holograms, please.
Of course, Lieutenant Commander. And yeah, I suppose there's like an hour and a half where you all can do anything before the senior staff meeting. So does anyone have any points of order, or should we just skip ahead a bit?
Nothing for me.
Maddox just double and triple checking everything, making sure that none of these people that have been working on it are a Reeve.
Yes, there are no Reeves here.
Okay.
I will send a text message down to the medic, informing him that a Serata Draco is on board if he wishes to get a first-hand experience with her biology.
Phrasing.
Oh, okay.
Phrasing.
See, we have a Crothers on ship, though.
Oh, God. Oh, God. All right. I think, Beckett, that would be an open invitation for you to be in the senior staff meeting, so unless you really don't want to be there, let's have you be there. Okay, let's skip ahead to the senior staff meeting then. That would be this map. So, all of you get situated around the conference table, and Matic, I do need you to roll me a, we'll call it an insight plus security, and the difficulty here will be only a 2. All right, so Matic, you are fairly confident that the room is free of any bugs or any sort of listening or recording devices. The room is quote-unquote secure, as far as you're aware.
All right.
But yeah, I'm going to let you guys run your own senior staff meeting.
Very well. Introduce Matic and Hailong to Lieutenant Shatsu, our Chief Tactical Officer and Head of Security, and Commander Beckett, our Chief Medical Officer.
Welcome aboard.
Pleasure to meet you. You as well, Lieutenant.
Shatsu and Hailong just kind of look at one another, almost like predators sizing each other up. And Hailong nods, and then Shatsu nods, and Hailong says, "Pleasure to be here."
Very well. I'm sure we are all dying to know, Mr. Matic. What are you doing? What are you going to be doing to our ship?
I'm going to be putting a quantum sensor array on your ship. What this will do, and I'm going to pull up, like I have like a hologram that'll pull up like a thing of the ship, and as it goes on, he's like moving parts around.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, how you would imagine the warp bubble. Instead, it'll be a subspace tear that will allow the sensors to read 10 to 15 seconds ahead of anything that's going on around you. So while it's not much of a warning, if you have 10 seconds to say, hey, there's a Romulan uncloaking over here, you can already have your weapons aimed that direction.
So Murthrin just kind of...
Or any anomalies that show up or anything else along those lines.
So Murthrin kind of balks at you and says, sorry, maybe I misheard. You want to create a purposeful tear in subspace?
Yeah, I mean, I've been to subspace countless times. I made a ship that travels there regularly. Have we been to see Jeffrey recently, Hailong?
No, I think it's actually been several years since we've heard from Jeffrey. We should probably check in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. all of your logs are pretty much classified above even my level. Who's Jeffrey?
Over in Shackleton Expanse, there's a planet. It's this race called the Opterans. They're basically a giant beetle. Jeffrey is one of the ones that we met. They are from subspace, but they had to come to normal space in order to reproduce. And the planet we found them at, near its core, was a stable subspace tear that could be traveled in between at will. And Jeffrey was one of the Opterans that we met, and then we spoke with him and were able to get there's 4 species on that planet that's sharing the planet now.
Oh, I think it's 5.
Oh, 5? Okay. I don't see why that planet was so important. Like, I really don't. But you know what? The bird people wanted it. They wanted it. Those other guys wanted, they wanted it too. I don't know. That was above my pay grade.
As fascinating as that it is, Lieutenant Commander, and to get us back on track, but also to clarify for my own sake, what you're suggesting here is that we install a sensor suite that can look 10 seconds into the future?
Yeah.
That's astounding. What's to stop you from increasing this arbitrary 10-second time limit?
For what the ships are capable of now, that's as far as I'm able to reach it. For instance, this handheld device that I've made, that I've improved on, is only able to work about 5 to 6 seconds in advance. The rest of the standard technology just hasn't caught up with what I'm working on, and I'm going to hand the device down to Panek, and it's the device that he would have built upon from the Arcadia.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, he's able to shine it, and he could tell, if he shines it at somebody, he could tell, it tells him 5 seconds before they move what direction they're about to move or something.
Okay, so it's like the one you originally brought to the captain.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, so Panek, you are, of course, privy to all the data that is being transmitted by this tricorder. And as you kind of muse at what you're seeing, Hailong does add, it is important to note that it's not 100% glimpse into the future. As far as temporal mechanics go, there's a whole debate about whether fate is fate or if things are predestined. But I'd like to say that these sensors give you about 75% confidence that what they're reading in the future is, going to happen. And almost as if to prove her point, she holds up one of her hands, and very similar to what she did when this device was first shown to a captain. She takes one of her claws and rakes it across her palm so that a very small amount of blood, kind of pours out from the skin. And Panek, your tricorder reading doesn't catch up to that until it's actually happened. So there was no advanced warning of what she was going to do.
What kind of data exactly does this thing present? If I were to suggest for Commander Beckett to leave the room and then in 5 seconds re-enter and say a random word, would the tricorder tell me?
That is a good question.
Let's do an experiment.
I could make a roll to see how far advanced I've made this, how far I've made it.
Let's do both. Let's do the roll and the experiment.
That's what I was going to suggest, the experiment.
I actually walk over here and replicate a coin.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, heads or tails?
I'll use the tricorder to see if I can answer that.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me a reason plus science. And the difficulty here is going to be a 2.
I guess my philosophy doesn't count, since this isn't like an existential.
Yeah, this isn't quite,
What is destiny?
Okay. I'm gonna say it'll succeed at cost because I have a good idea of how this can play out. If you don't mind me taking a little bit of creative license.
Oh, you're the GM. Go for it.
So, Panek, Tricorder says the coin's gonna land on its side.
And he'll raise both eyebrows at this. I believe your tricorder may be malfunctioning, Lieutenant Commander. It says the object will land in a highly unlikely position, standing on its side.
Is it an impossible chance?
Nothing is impossible in an infinite universe, Lieutenant.
Okay.
All right.
So-
Flip the coin.
Yeah, so Locke, if you would give me a 1d3. And Beckett, I do see your whisper, but we'll play that out after Locke's roll. Okay. So, Locke, you flip the coin, and as it spirals through the air, it bounces on the table and begins rolling towards Beckett. Along its edge, but before it can come to a stop, Beckett snatches it up.
I'm sorry, what was that about it being highly unlikely, Lieutenant Commander?
Well, we do not account for the whims of Commander Beckett.
As usual, Vulcans don't understand the human condition.
You're the medical personnel. I suggest you have your condition checked.
Spock, Bones, not here.
Oh, that laughs in character, by the way. Hi Long's having a good time.
I'll take that compliment.
So this... so two questions, Mr. Maddock. The first is, what does the Department of Temporal Investigations think of this? And second, why the Ophion? Why not the more advanced Sovereign classes or the new edition of the Nova class ships that are being produced?
Whenever he mentions, okay, is anyone a Betazoid?
Mirthrin is, but he's not here. But you can still tell me what Mirthrin would get emotion-wise from you.
Matic would get. Mirthrin would get a sense of annoyance. Like, okay, I'm tired of dealing with these. I'm tired of dealing, like, not with them, but with the temporal people.
I gotcha.
Everyone else will just kind of see Matic kind of like shrug his shoulders a little bit, and then he'll just look at the captain dead on and say, I have access to... I was allowed to choose the ship. I was given relatively unfeathered access to ships operating near Romulan space.
I would
Let's
also
put two and two together.
I would also assume, Captain, it has to do with the fact that the the Ophion, has 3 warp cores and is has a very modular sort of configuration.
Quite possibly. Very well. So shipboard resources, other than of course, the engineering crew and the science crew and whatever else the Ophion can provide, is there any other special needs that you require for this installation?
How long? You think there's anything else we need?
Not offhand, but I think it is worth mentioning that obviously these sensors will draw a lot more power than normal sensor usage would. It's something we've obviously been working on at the Institute, but, as Maddox said, we can only do so much before the Temporal Investigation Squad comes knocking at our door again.
Question, Mr. Maddox.
Answer.
Since you've had your pick of the ships, of ships you wish to install this on, you no doubt know that the Ophion has a multi-vector assault mode. How will this affect your installing the sensor suite?
Mm, I think I'm going to try to focus most of the power draw for the sensors more towards the saucer section. So whenever you do the separation, the saucer section would probably take a little bit more of a power draw hit. However, whenever the ship's all together, you shouldn't have too much of an issue.
So it's most productive in when our ship is combined instead of split. Makes sense.
Which you'll still be able to use standard sensors. This is a secondary option that you will use whenever you're all in one piece, whenever you're able to get the 10 to 15-second warning that something's showing up. You'll be able to have time to split the ship apart and be able to converge on the point. It's not gonna, unless you're in the saucer section, unless the saucer section's off by itself and decides it wants to throw this on, that'd probably be the only time an issue may occur.
Very well. Mr. Murthrin and Chief Engineer Pragg have done extensive work already with the EPS conduits that might not be reflected in our official blueprints. I'll make sure that he gives you a full tour of the power system.
Oh, yes, the ones on Deck 6 are still giving us some problems, but I'm sure it'll be fine. We're just going to be punching holes in the space-time continuum, because that's what we do, apparently.
I've been doing it for the past 8 years.
Oh,
I'm still fine.
Well, for some of us, it's the first time.
That sounded precisely like Murthrin. Good job.
I try.
I have to question, however, Captain, how long this advantage will truly last. It is my understanding that the Romulan intelligence is quite fastidious. Every advantage we create is just a move followed by a counter move by them.
Agreed. We'll have to use the technology sparingly.
The only trace you'll leave behind are some chronotons. You'll have some chronotons that could be scanned. However, the only people who know the full extent of what this sensor suite is capable of are myself and Chief Hailong.
Out of character,
Mm-hmm.
did Murthrin get a promotion?
No, why? He's always been Lieutenant Commander.
Really? Because I used to get in trouble for calling him Lieutenant Commander, and he was a Lieutenant, I thought.
That's
Maybe I have it
odd.
backwards.
No, I think you got in trouble for just calling him Commander.
Oh, that's right. Anyway, Lieutenant Commander Murthrin, will these chronotons present an issue if they build up within their shield bubble?
Well, looking at the holograms that Maddox showed us, I'm curious. How did you handle the chronoton buildup in a blade of armor? Will we experience a temporal incursion like the Defiant did?
I mean, if you leave it on for a month or so, maybe, but if you switch it on for 30 minutes to an hour and then switch it off, the chronotons will probably be dissipated by the time you decide to switch it on again.
So Hailong does chip in a little bit and says, basically what Maddox is trying to say is, as long as you don't leave it on permanently, you shouldn't run into such problems. And Murthrin says, oh, great. More things to worry about.
Well, when we get our every so often, like every 5 years, baryon sweep to get rid of the excess radiation that builds up on our hulls, that would probably also get rid of the chronotons.
I find an issue with your design, Mr. Maddox. If it is something that requires us to actively activate, it kind of defeats the purpose of having a passive early warning system, doesn't it?
I think it's more along the lines of it it won't be as accurate if you don't put additional power towards it, if that makes sense. So basically, you're flying in space, you have your sensors up. They're going to tell you, oh, hey, there's a planet over here. Well, then you got to put a little more power into them to say, hey, this planet is a this class planet, or there's something going on over here. It's basically along those lines. It'll still be passive and it'll still work. It just won't give you exact readings.
So out of character, I think it's time I can now show you guys pretty much what the trait is. And we're still going to do rolls for stuff, but I did want to let you at least see basically what you're working with. So that would be the brand new trait that I'd allow the Ophion to have. Keyword being trait, not talent. And of course, as with all things, this may be subject to change. But as you can see, basically, the way it works is obviously the more power you invest into the sensors, the more fruitful your results may be.
So this thing's always on, but we give it a variable amount of power to the sensor array.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm sure glad I upped the sensors on the Ophion.
Anyways, carry on with your meeting.
Yep. Very well. I see no reason why we shouldn't go ahead with this. If it turns out something, if it turns out that the complications are worse than we feared, we can always turn the system off. Mr. Maddock, you have my permission to proceed. Please coordinate your efforts, of course, with Murthrin, Locke, and Pinnock.
Yeah, I can.
All right. So let me copy Locke's token, because I don't think I have him in main engineering. I don't know. Let me put it on main engineering. We'll see where everybody's token is. Smurthrin's there. Zanixia's there. Yeah, we'll do the whole Zanixia introduction here in a moment. I just want to get everybody's token on page. So you three are here.
I'll walk Matic down, and on the way, I just want to kind of converse with him.
Sure.
It's my understanding, Mr. Matic, that you've been working at the Daystrom Institute for some time.
Yes, I've been there. 4 or 5 years now.
Our helmsman was coincidentally born in the institute.
Interesting.
She's the progeny of Mr. Maddox. Of course, I assume no relation to yourself.
No, he has an X, I have a C. Trust me, whenever I first got to the Institute, a lot of people got that confused.
She is a type what type of Maddox android is she, Maddox?
I think I just said she was just a Maddox type android. I don't think I actually gave her like a serial number.
She's an artificial person.
Yeah, she's a Maddox type android that he developed while at the Institute.
Interesting. I've never really looked much into AI. I don't know. There was Data, there was Soong, there was Maddox, the other Maddox. I figured there was enough people working on it.
Oh, incidentally, when we do get to the engineering, it'll be a good idea to keep your mind focused explicitly on the task we're working on and not let it wander to any classified intelligence or other projects.
Yes, we do have a crew member, a specialist. We'll introduce you to her in a second, but she has a peculiar talent for sort of co-opting people's understanding of technology. It's sort of like I hesitate to use the human term, telepathic piggybacking.
Like telepathic mimicry or miming. Where we don't want to let her know too much.
Especially considering the classified nature of your time aboard the Arcadia.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Hailong does actually speak up at this, and she says, "So, what's the effective radius on this I guess telepathic ability?"
I don't think we ever tested it, but it doesn't go. I don't think it goes very far. It's just to be like within the same room, I think.
Yeah, I believe we did some rudimentary tests, but I don't think it's nearly the distance of Betazoid telepathy, which is incredible range, planetary range. Much their species didn't seem to make telepathic contact with our Vulcan Panek until he was in the same room, so it does seem to be very close proximity.
What species is this crewman?
She's a slaw. She is. Well, you'll see her for yourself in a moment.
Would I know anything about the Slaw? Would I have read it in any of their records? Like, would I have an idea? Or is this just like a, what the hell's a Slaw?
For you, I think you might have gotten the very basic of briefings, but I'll do the whole description just for sake of use and, in case we have any new viewers, because who knows. So you have a general idea of who you might be about to see in engineering.
Okay.
I recommend thinking of a song. I always try to get a good, what's the human earworm? A nice earworm going through my brain whenever I meet her. I find there's a ancient classical song called Come On Eileen that is very good for just rattling around the brain. Keeps my mind off classified things.
I'll keep that in mind, Lieutenant.
All right. So Panek, the party does arrive at engineering. Do you stick around, or you go off to do other things?
Oh, I'll just hand them off to Locke and Merthin and let them handle things and head back up to the bridge.
Okay. So, of course, Merthrin goes over to the table, calls over Prag, and calls over Zenixia. And when you see Zenixia, you see that she is a black slaw. She has a very insectoid kind of appearance about her. She's got these kind of branching, I guess you could call them maybe deer-like horns that come from her head. She also has a serpentine lower body. So it's kind of a fusion between an insectoid race and a serpentine-like race. The major difference is that she doesn't really display any noticeable gender characteristics, and I mostly just call her a she because it's easier in my brain. But yeah, when she slithers on over, she kind of looks at both Maddock and Hailong and says, without missing a beat, I should say, says, Lieutenant Commander Maddock and Senior Chief Hailong, it's a pleasure to meet you. And Hailong blinks for a second, turns to Mac and says, she's good.
Yeah. Interesting. What planet are you from?
Oh, I'm from the ringworld Axissus.
And how far away is that?
I actually have to look at a map. It's over, if I have correctly, it's over 100 light years distant.
It's probably closer to 45, or take.
Is it? What's the? It's a minor detail, but let me get this right. What's the scale?
I think each sector is like 15 light years.
Okay. Let's see. You guys are there. Yeah, it's probably closer to 50 or 60. Yeah, than 100.
Yeah, 75. So pretty close, actually.
Somewhere in the ballpark.
I'm sure Maddock is aware of Deep Space Dead List because, I mean, we built a freaking space station out there. But is he aware of the Takan installation?
If he does, that's up to Maddock to reveal if he may or may not know. But anyway, Yeah, you guys are in engineering, and Murthrin and Prag and Zenixia are all kind of looking at Matic and Hylong, just kind of waiting to see where they want to start.
Matic just kind of keeps staring at Xenexia, just, new interesting species.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just kind of gets like a look at his face, like, oh wait, yeah. Uh, let's start. Let's figure this out. And then he's gonna go to the table and pull up plans and get to work.
Okay. So, initially, since I thought Murthrin was going to be here, but obviously he's not, I was going to have Murthrin do these roles. So we're going to change the intended extended task a little bit differently. So Locke, what would you say is what is your engineering score so that I don't have to go digging in character sheets?
That's 4, I believe, off the top of my head.
Okay. What about your control? What's your control?
10.
Okay,
Not
so you've
bad.
got what, a combined 14?
Correct.
Yeah, that's more than enough. All right, so Locke, you will be our sort of player lead on this. So this is going to be an extended task, and this is mostly to kind of gauge how long it takes all of you working together to get these sensors installed. The only other difference is since you're not chief engineer, you don't get the chief engineer bonus, which knocks the difficulty down by 1. So the default difficulty is 3. And for those of you at home or those of you players that want to keep track, the work track is 12. The magnitude is 4. And due to experimental technology, there is 1 resistance. And the default task is control plus engineering. And the good news is that both Matic and Hylong can assist with the role. But obviously you have to choose which one for which role.
So what's a Hylong's speciality in this?
So, let me pull up her sheet.
She's more science and sensors, and then I'm more engineer.
So yeah, definitely Matic for the assisting, I suppose.
Yeah. I have a question.
Sure.
My control and engineering is a 17. Would that be better to run the thing, or I'm not trying to take away from him, but I'm just saying, like, to get this done,
I would say that you are probably going to be the chief. You're kind of like a teacher who is there to, well, teach and observe than you are to actually, like, obviously you're still getting your hands dirty, but you're not taking on a, like, if this was your ship, you'd be doing the work yourself, just like Murthrin's going to be doing. But you're more of an observer in this role.
Managerial.
Yeah, managerial would be a good word. But yeah, so let's get these rollings in the way. See what we got.
I'll burn 1 momentum off the start for a good strong start here.
Okay.
I'm rolling control engineering also, I'm assuming.
Yep.
And then prototype engineering
Oh,
or
yeah.
quantum mechanics. Okay. Okay.
So you've already succeeded. Let's see if you get some momentum.
Since I'm assisting, my talent would not apply, would it?
No, it would not.
Okay.
Okay. Well, at least it wasn't a complication. That's what matters. All right, so Locke, working under Maddox's guidance, both you and Murthrin are able to begin to lay the groundwork, begin to install these sort of chronoton emitting devices that you have been told will begin sort of creating the miniature subspace tears that you will then read sensor data through. So obviously, go ahead and roll me 2 plus 4, so 6 challenge die to see how much work you do. Would you look at that? So, you do hit the magic breakthrough number. So you do achieve one breakthrough, and the difficulty does go down by one.
Whew.
And you've completed half the work track as well. So yeah, you do a bang up job. You, Mirthrin, Prags, Anixia, really the whole engineering team. You guys do a very good job. Maddox giving very clear, concise orders. Hai Long is filling in the gaps if there's any confusion. Generally, you have a very synergistic and fruitful team dynamic going on right now. So yeah, we come around to another control plus engineering. Difficulty is only a 2 this time.
Not gonna spend another momentum, just
Okay.
because save that last one. Actually, I'm gonna spend a threat to get an extra dice.
Okay,
I'm gonna give you a threat
I will happily take threat.
because we don't do that nearly enough. So.
Oh, I do it all the time in Arcadia.
All right, so you already have one momentum for your troubles. Tell you what, let's. Okay. That's 2 momentum for your troubles. So you're up to momentum 3. All right. Go ahead and do the challenge die to see how you're doing with that before I give some flavor. Wow. Okay. So, to kind of imitate Scotty in, I believe it's the episode Relics in TNG. Scotty's old adage was you always overestimate how much time it takes, because that way when you do it in the correct amount of time or you do it early, people think you're a miracle worker. That's sort of what's going on here. Matic and Hylong and Locke and Mirthrin, you would have given Panek and Skull a best case estimate, quote unquote. And you're coming in not hours early, but a full day's work early.
How much was the actual track?
It was 12, so you actually got, let's see.
Because there's resistance as well, right? So that takes away.
Oh, yeah, good point. So technically you're at 10, but I'm going to say, I don't know, you've got 3 momentum. Do you want to just maybe spend it to reroll those zeros?
Sure. Let's see, it's 1 momentum. Let's see if we get lucky.
Yeah, that's all you needed. So yeah, you guys finish like start to finish. I'm just gonna make it magnitude 3 instead of magnitude 4 because the work track is completed.
2 actually.
Yeah, but yeah, you guys come in a full day's early, so the total elapsed time from Maddox's arrival to sensor completion and all the holes in the hull sealed up and all that, takes a grand total of 3 days. So the initial estimate was 4 to 5.
As we finish up, Matic is kind of smiling, and I guess Zanzia?
Xenixia.
Xenixia. I'm gonna fucking butcher that. She
Don't worry, we all do.
so she would read the thoughts that like Matic would know that we were gonna get this job done early, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does she say anything? Because that's what Matic's thinking right now. Is like, yeah, I knew we would get this job done early.
She doesn't say anything per se, but you do notice that her work output does seem to be sort of motivated. Almost like kind of the anticipation of the end is kind of helping her along.
All right. Since we're all back at the table, and it's all done up, Matic will put his engineering toolkit on the table. He'll open it up, move a secret compartment, and pull out a bottle of whiskey. and say, okay, I knew we were going to get done early. Who wants a drink?
You're going to fit in very well here.
Oh, I've already had like 4 drinking contests that I've won on the Arcadia.
Literally every
well-
single one.
I won't challenge you for that, because Bolian, unfortunately. But we should probably call up Commander Beckett, because he would be very put off if we didn't invite him down.
For the alcohol?
Yes.
But really? Okay.
So Mirthrin he taps his comments and says, Commander Beckett, do you have a moment?
Of course I do. Did one of you engineers electrocute yourself again?
No, we're
Yeah.
fine. But we're having a celebratory toast if you wanted to join us.
Oh. Now I see why you called me. Okay, I'll be down in just a minute.
All right.
And what I will do is when I come down, I don't come down empty-handed.
Okay.
I will bring down a effectively a 6-pack or 12, because engineering's kind of a big place,
Mm-hmm.
of that Andromeda brew.
Okay. So yeah, Beckett does arrive with beer in hand. And I think it's probably a safe assumption to say that Prague will be having some, if not most, of that whiskey if Maddox lets him.
Oh no. They're trying to drink each other under the table.
Oh dear. Well, I think we all know that for shits and giggles, we must of course see who succeeds in a drinking contest. So anyone who would care to participate in said contest, I'd like you to roll me we'll call this a fitness plus, I don't know, how about medicine? Does that sound good? All right, well, maybe not fitness plus medicine, because that's performing medical procedures.
Security, con.
Let's go with con. Let's do fitness plus con.
I will refrain from the drinking contest, but I will happily sit there and watch.
Okay.
Unfair for Bolian to participate since they can drink like concentrated acid.
Okay.
Biology doesn't.
Would anyone care to roll for Prague?
Sure. I'll roll for
Okay.
Prague.
Okay. So yeah, gentlemen, if you would be so kind, let's see those rolls.
Let me find Prague. Oh, there he is. Fitness.
To this day, Matic has never put a point in con and has always been a 1. He's not gonna fly the ship. Why the fuck does he need points in it?
Oh dear. Well, I mean, if you roll double ones again, you know. Okay, so Prague's doing well. Oh, Matic. Oh, well, your reign had to end sometime. So, yeah, in true Tellarite fashion, Prague not only is able to outdrink the longtime champ winner of the Arcadia, he does it in such a fashion that is very space dwarf, because as we all know, Tellarites are space dwarves. So Prague kind of slips into an accent and says, "Laddie, I told you, I know I drink you under the table."
We'll get round 2 next time we're back here.
Ha ha ha! Indeed, pour me another.
Aye, and I'll pour both of us another, and notice that the bottle of whiskey is now empty.
Hylong does kind of lean into Beckett and says, does Chief Prague do this a lot?"
As a matter of fact, I've never seen him do this.
Huh. By the way, this and she kind of looks at the bottle because she would have taken one of yours, and she says, "This is a very unique flavor. How do you what do you do to it exactly?"
Usually I will wherever we go, I will grab local supplies and make them that way. Though, where we've been lately, there hasn't been much in the way of us leaving the ship, so I've just kind of been improvising.
Well, I think you're definitely onto something here.
Yeah, all the patrons at Quark seem to like it, and well, the ship definitely likes it.
I only wish that we had the room for it back during the Arcadia days. She looks over at Matic and Prag and those two going at it, and she says, though I think we had some very interesting experiences all the same.
Well, that's one thing about having your ship effectively be 3 ships is there's always lots of storage space.
And Locke, I of course can only speak for Mirthrin, but so much. I would imagine Mirthrin probably abstains. And Locke, you said you abstained.
I didn't. I drank, but I didn't participate in the content.
Oh, okay.
Fine.
So is there anything this group of people want to accomplish before I maybe cut to the bridge and, kind of move things along?
Matic will kind of look over and see Hailong with the beer, and I guess he hears her talking about how it tastes and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever Beckett calls it or says that it's at Quark's, he's going to be, hey, what's the name of it?
This batch is actually called the Andromeda Ale. I've also made ones for some of the other places that we've been to as well.
Why do you call it the Andromeda Ale?
Oh, reasons.
So I know Maddox's a little drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Can he do an insight check to see if he could try to figure out what those reasons might be?
Oh boy.
Would it be something in his files that he's read about the ship as to why he picked the Ophion?
Yeah, I'm trying to think about how to resolve this.
He is drunk, so he's probably got a disadvantage.
Yeah, he does have a disadvantage. Okay, so Beckett, I think I'm fairly confident to say that it's going to be some sort of presence plus either command or con. Maybe command better than con. Let me just double check the blurbs. Command, inspect, presence. Yeah, let's do presence plus con for Beckett. I'm going to say this is an opposed roll. So
Can you pick like any other skills or any other attributes or discipline besides those? I mean, really, any of them besides those?
Unfortunately, it's definitely has to be presence. So,
damn it.
yeah. The good news is, Matic, your complication range is going to be 16 to 20.
Okay.
And your insight roll will be insight. We'll do insight plus con as well.
Insight and con?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to change what my complication range is on this sheet?
Not on this sheet. On the official sheet there is, but not for this sheet.
Ooh, Beckett.
Yeah, Beckett. So Beckett starts off strong with 2.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a fresh complication right there. All right. So yeah, Matic, either you're just a little bit more tipsy than you thought you were, or you think he.
Well, as because it goes along with one of my values about hesitation.
Mm-hmm.
If he starts probing questions about Andromeda, whatever, without skipping a beat, Beckett will just kind of smile and go, I knew I knew this Andorian woman in the academy. Everybody called her Andromeda, and well, for whatever reason, The smell of this smelled like a perfume she always wore, and I just decided to name this after her.
Okay, so GM,
Mhm.
you know about Andorian women and medic.
I do indeed. I would say I'm gonna let this be
Okay,
your judgment call,
um,
but I would say this doesn't maybe anger you so much as maybe triggers kind of a sadness emotion. Of course, you can
right.
do differently, but that's how I would think it would go down.
Um, so would they have found it on the transporter? My specialty, my little special thing that I keep with me all the time, or no?
I think the Mirthrin would have been aware of it, but considering you were a specialist, didn't say anything about it.
Okay. Um, Matic, whenever the Andorian woman's brought up, anyone who's kind of looking at Matic will see him kind of like take his hand down to like the his right hip and kind of just looks like he holds on to something, and then he gets really quiet. Um, the next drink he takes is quite a large one, and it is like just a one and done. Like it's a drink that's supposed to mean something, and
Hmm.
then a couple seconds will pass, and then all of a sudden it's back to business or back
Okay.
to drinking business.
So all of you would have seen that.
So, Matic, do you know anything about nanotechnology at all? What's your engineering specialty?
My engineering specialty has mostly been with either these here warp engines, which, damn, that's a big ass warp engine. Um, or quantum mechanics and stuff like that. I did some experimenting with nanites and nanobots. We found a species that had some in their system. Not the Borg. These were docile outside of their body, and I did some experiments with them. They did some experiments of their own. Um, nothing really ever came of it though. I thought it was interesting, but nothing major.
Just working on a project, programming some nanites for purposes. Request the captain. Wondering if you knew anything about it.
I mean, I can always take a look. Fresh eyes.
Sure. It's a come down to my lab sometime when you're in the morning. Sometime when you're feeling better, feeling more alert.
I'm always alert. What are you talking about? As he
Hylong just
says
kind
this,
of. Yeah, go ahead.
as he says this, he goes to put his glass on the table and misses and just drops the glass.
I
I
would
meant to do
say,
that.
yeah, I would say Hylong will very definitely catch the glass because she was expecting something like this. So she catches it, puts it on the table, and says, "All right, Lieutenant Commander, that's enough. Off we go."
How do we test the sensors? How do we? Should we
And
program
down
maybe like
island.
a probe to do a random trajectory?
Oh, I forgot to mention this. There's a how far away is it? How long? Like what? 5 light years? Yeah, we have a captured Romulan warbird
it's not a
with the
warbird, Matic.
new
It's smaller than that.
uh scout, whatever. We have a captured Romulan ship that's on autopilot. That's flying around, turning its cloak on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. We're gonna go check it out and calibrate it off that.
Okay, that's that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be.
All right, so Hylong and Matic do exit the scene, but I did want to give you guys some brief moments to, kind of reflect and perhaps muse on what just happened. So I think
Prague just says, "That human can't hold his beer."
Murthrin chuckles and says, "I don't know. I think maybe he just wasn't expecting a Tellarite."
No one ever expects the Tellarite.
And I grew up on New Berlin, and Oktoberfest with the humans was always rather interesting. The Lederhosen festivals and such. And most of them did end up underneath the table more than once.
What is a Lederhosen?
The Lederhosen festival. It's a type of suspender pants thing.
Sounds ugly. You wouldn't catch Tellarites wearing such garish things.
You might look good in the hats, though. I'll have to replicate one. Nice pointy hat. It'll complement the beard.
I like hats.
Oh dear. All right. So, for sake of time, basically the orders or basically the suggestion that you go to this test site either come through Hylong or come through Matic, and the bridge, of course, gets wind of it. I'm like 99% sure you're going to do it anyway, but would either Panek or Captain Skull have an order or have an issue with it, or would you just kind of, set course and engage?
I mean, Captain Skull would basically say, so let me get this straight. At some point, Starfleet Command captured a Romulan scout ship, and they are basically parading it out on a buoy close to Romulan space, with it turning its cloak on and off randomly.
Let's make a scene out of this. Let me quickly copy some tokens. We'll do this in your ready room, and we'll say Hylong does it. So this is during the time that Matic is kind of sobering up. Anyways, you were saying.
I understand Starfleet's and Starfleet research is very interested in seeing these tested out, but considering that we just gave the Romulans the proverbial middle finger for detonating a trilithium explosive so close to our space and Klingon space, this seems politically dangerous.
Hylong does kind of nod in agreement, but she says, I mean, obviously, sir, I'm no diplomat, but I think originally this shuttle was just something that got left over from the Dominion War. The Romulans just sort of let us keep it. But I mean, if I had to hazard a guess as to what the upper brass is thinking, it's that we have a bit of their technology, and we want them to know it.
Well, at least we get some nice sensors out of the deal.
I'd like to insert Panek, just insert him into the scene.
Sure. So there's a chime at the door.
Idea. Come in.
So Panek enters in.
Mr. Panek, welcome. Senior Chief Hylong was explaining to me the political fallout of our upcoming test, and then go into detail explaining the captured Romulan ship.
Yes, Starfleet seems to have been doing its best to injure Romulan pride of late.
One would think so shortly after being successful military allies, the Romulans and Starfleet would at least try to improve relations rather than passive-aggressively attacking each other.
It certainly does make carrying out the Ophion's secondary objective a little harder.
Well, maybe we'll meet the same commander again. That was fun, wasn't it?
Oh, fun is not how I would describe it, Captain, but...
No, me neither. Satisfying, perhaps, but definitely not fun.
If, as long as they have this shuttle set up anyway, Captain, the quicker we get the calibrating and the test done, the quicker that we can remove this scout ship from the front line.
Agreed. As soon as we get clearance that we're ready to depart from Murthrin and Matic, make sure have Sona set course and depart at suitable warp.
Aye, sir. I will notify Deep Space Nine.
Thank you, Commander.
If that's all.
Actually,
I just
I just had one small thing.
yes.
I think it appropriate, sirs, to tell you that the testing ground is near the Badlands. So if you had any business there, or if you really were worried about, the Romulans picking up on it, as far as I understand, the testing scenario is that we're using the Badlands as a sort of cover, so to make it kind of hard for the Romulans to even see that we have the shuttle.
Very well.
That works both ways, Senior Chief. It also
Indeed.
provides cover for the Romulans if they wish to covertly monitor the test, which they no doubt most likely will be.
We'll just have to hope the brand new sensors do their job then.
Agreed. Thank you, Senior Chief. You're dismissed.
Okay, yeah. So Long leaves.
Since
Captain.
we're
Oh, sorry. Go
yes.
ahead. Is the lieutenant commander and the senior chief aware of the current trilithium issue with the Romulans?
I hope not, but they might become aware of it.
That you must remember to keep that in the forefront of our mind. It is a very pressing issue.
Agreed.
Still.
We did get some particularly interesting intel of a weapons cache that the smugglers had used as a dead drop. That is in the Badlands. Perhaps once our tests are complete, we could see if that weapons cache could be used to gain further intelligence.
I will make note of it and suggest a course addition to Lieutenant Sona when it becomes relevant.
Perfect.
Thank you, Captain. I'll see myself out.
Thank you, XO.
All right. So, departing from DS9 is pretty easy. You get everyone back aboard. The process maybe takes 3 to 4 hours, if that. And you're given clearance to leave. And with Sona at the helm, she of course skillfully navigates the Ophion away from the upper pylon. And we don't have the lovely Intrepid class nacelles folding up, but the nacelles do glow, and then sends the Ophion hurtling into warp. So during this time period, unless you want to go maximum warp, it's going to be at least a several days journey. Now, I know Maddox has some things he wants to do, but I did want to give the players, like my usual players, also an opportunity to do as you wish during these few days. So would anyone care to go first?
I have a scene to play it with Pinek.
Okay, where would you like it to take place?
Ready room, please.
Okay, well, I don't have to move
Convenient.
maps. There you go.
Convenient. Mr. Pinek, I'm going through the security briefings by Miss Shatsu. Are you aware that we are now in possession of a TR-116 solid shot rifle?
I was aware. I saw the log entry in which I believe Lieutenant Locke submitted, which I see as a good sign, Captain. He could very well have not brought it to our attention the way he did, but he did.
Indeed. Do you, as loath as I am to start distrusting crewmen, do you believe that he is working an angle that he hasn't told us?
Considering his background, I'm sure there's many things that we are unaware of, but I do not believe that he is acting against the interests of the ship and crew. But I will keep my eye on him, and if need be, I will make inquiries.
Agreed. Let's just keep this between ourselves for the time being, and if Mr. Locke makes other moves, we'll deal with it as the time comes.
Very well, Captain.
Dismissed.
Aye, sir.
All right. Anyone like to go next?
I'd like to spar with Hailong in the holodeck.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if anyone was going to do this. All right, let me put her, because if I put her on this later, it'll make it easy for me to capture. All right, so copy. And the holodeck is way over here. So I gotta temporarily put you in sick bay. There we go.
That's ominous that we're going to end up.
All right, Panek's already there, so I don't need her token. All right, so how overt or covert are you in asking to spar with Hailong on the holodeck?
Very, absolutely direct. I mean, just no subtlety.
Okay. She, of course, says, "Oh, well, I only have one question, sir. Blades or no?"
I am quite proficient with the bladed larpa. I will, of course, as you are a guest, allow you to choose the setting and situation.
Well, if it's all the same to you, I did bring one of my own swords with me as part of my personal effects. I'll be using that, if that's okay.
It's perfectly fine with me, but I would have to warn you that I am not a hologram, Senior Chief.
No, not to worry, sir. I am extremely skilled with the blade. It is part of training all Sorita Draco go through. We go through exercise such as this on the homeworld many, many times.
So I'll just let her load up any program she wants, and then we'll kind of get at it.
Okay. So let me quickly answer that question. Yeah, Matic, I think I mentioned it might have been page 2 of the notes I gave you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just completely forgot.
That's okay. We'll say that Panek, we'll do this for flavor. Basically, you ask Hailong in a public space or while some ensign is walking by, and by the time the both of you arrive at the holodeck, we'll say, Beckett, you're going to be the champion for this. Your lovely nurse, Vara, kind of pulls you to the side, Beckett, and says, "Did you know the Lieutenant Panek and Hailong are going to fight? They're going to spar."
Okay. Do they need medical supervision? Or are you trying to say they need an adult?
I think they'll be fine, but I'm curious, sir. Who would you bet on if you had to bet?
Well, I mean, there's really only one person to bet on. I mean, it's all about pride and you know, the people you work with on a daily basis, and of course I want to see Hailong kick the crap out of Panek.
So Vara actually pulls out a pad and says, "So do I have you down for how many strips of platinum?"
Oh, now you're just hitting me in the feels. Let's go 10 strips of platinum on Hailong.
She's the favorite at the moment.
And by the way, and I look her directly in the eyes, I get the very good dad face, and I look at her and I say, "We never had this conversation."
I don't even know who you are at the moment, sir. You could be any ensign.
Excellent. And by the way, you are dismissed to go around and collect other bets from other people.
I don't know what you're talking about, sir. She winks and she goes off to do what you want.
Wonderful. I will cover your shift in sickbay while you are doing something personal.
So, Panek and Hailong are unaware of this fact, but I think everyone else on the ship, including the captain, would be aware that there is indeed a betting pool going around. So, I don't know.
Are you kidding? The holodeck is literally being broadcast on the main screen right now.
That's what I was going to ask. All right. So,
Captain, permission to replicate some popped corn?
Absolutely, and please pass around these giant novelty foam fingers with the saying Panek #1 or Draco go down.
I'm totally expecting them to be shaped like the Vulcan salute.
That would work too.
That would be great.
Completely unaware of this completely immature wave sweeping the ship, I've already set this to record personally
Mhm.
so that I can review it later for tactical analysis.
Oh. I have some beers sent to the captain's quarters, or
Okay.
to his ready room. And then I will privately message you something that just came to mind that sounds completely hilarious.
Okay. Are you messaging me or someone else?
You.
Oh, okay. So while that's going on, I believe Maddox, you wanted to get a word in.
Yeah, hearing about the fight, he's gonna go and meet Hylong on the holodeck.
Okay.
He's gonna pull to the side and be like, "Okay, we did this with Urjessa. You already did this with Urjessa back on the Arcadia.
Oh,
did
it's one
it
of those.
You did it with I just went blank.
I think
You
she
did it with 6 different people in the Institute. I mean, come on. I don't know why people like sparring you. I just don't get it. All I know is that you better win.
While they're talking, I've removed my gray and black overcoat and I'm just in the red shirt.
Okay. Yeah, Hylong would have showed up in some sort of, we'll say, traditional Serato Draco form, so it's not quite the sweeping kimono or the sweeping dress that samurai have, but it is something that is, form-fitting, but still doesn't restrict her movement, something along those lines. So yeah, I honestly didn't think this would happen, but hey. So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to do it very similarly to how I handled this sort of fight on... Okay, gotcha, Beckett. Nice. So we're going to handle this in a kind of an opposed fashion. So the way it'll work is Panek and Hylong. Both of you, I think I'll roll for Hylong in this instance. Both of you will be doing standard daring plus securities. And, of course, since it is opposed, certain people will win based on certain rolls. And each of you will start with 0 momentum. And any momentum you accrue from your rolls, you can use as kind of your personal pool, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Yeah.
So,
Would you say Panek lets Hylong make the first move, or do you want to make the first move?
I want to feint as if I'm waiting for her to do the first move, and then as soon as I see her move, I want to strike.
Okay. So Hylong is actually going to go for a charge. So she kind of leans over a little bit, brings her horns to the forefront, and gives you a good old, almost like Monster Hunter-like charge at you. And let's see how well she does.
I don't think she's aware that that's one of my favorite games.
She does an applicable focus. All right, so the number to beat is 2 for you.
That was daring and security?
Yep, all this is going to be daring plus security, unless you do something really unorthodox. Oh, well, would you look at that? So I'll say the way it plays out is that her charge, you're able to meet it and fend off her attack. And go ahead and roll me... let me think what you're using. Would you say it's more of a dagger or more of a sword?
It's a larpa. It's like a staff,
Mm-hmm.
and at one end it's got like a blunt end, but at the other end it's kind of like a fanned blade. Let me see if I find a picture.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Spock used whenever he was fighting Kirk.
Yeah, during the Kaltor Reed or whatever.
Ah,
Yeah.
well, wouldn't you know it? A Lurpa is actually in the weapons table. Okay, so go ahead and roll me. What is your security score? A 4. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Roll me 7 challenge die, and you do have the vicious 1 effect here.
How does that doesn't factor into the number of die?
Basically, effects are additional damage.
Yep.
Okay. So, you are able to not only fend off Hailong's attack, but you do not quite a dangerous kind of cut along one of her forearms, but it does scrape against her scales and maybe chips off some of that. So she takes that much stress. And since the magic number is 5, she will have to spend her determination to stay in the fight, because she doesn't have momentum. So your blow is sound, Pinek. Like, to anyone else, they would have gone down hard from your rebuttal. But surprisingly, Hailong stays up. She, of course, looks down at the injury you've given her, and she almost smiles and she says, "It's been a long time since anyone's been able to do that. I think this will be fun."
Pinek does not show any surprise on his face at her tough nature, and he doesn't respond at all.
Okay. Actually, that is after her resistance, Matic. I am calculating that in there.
Okay.
So yeah, this time it is going to be Hailong that is doing the acting and Pinek that is doing the defending. It was reversed. That's why Pinek got the roll. So let me roll again for Hailong. See how well she does before I flavor anything. Probably should have made this an actual macro, but hey, that would involve effort. Applicable focus. Okay, so the magic number to beat is 1. Oh, okay. So it's a very even clash once again. But Hailong does get in a good cut otherwise. So let me see how many challenge dice she's rolling. Okay. She's only rolling 6.
That 2 up there from before, that didn't get me any momentum.
No. Well, wait, let me you're right, because the default difficulty is 1, so both Hailong and Pinek have 1 momentum.
All right.
But let's see how this resolves. So she has 4 security. Her sword is only a 2, so she rolls 6 challenge die, vicious 1. Oh boy. That's 8 damage to you, Pinek. Or 8 stress.
8 stress. That's a lot.
Yeah, and it is the magic number. Since if you take more than 5 damage in a single turn, you do accrue an injury and are thus out of the fight. Unless you spend determination, or I believe it's 2 momentum? I'll double check. Basically, you have to spend one or the other to avoid the injury.
I'll spend a determination then if it turns out I need 2 momentum. If it
of course, it's not on that portion of the GM screen. Where is my handout? It's a problem with having so many PDFs. It's hard finding all these stupid things. Of course, if anyone finds it before me, please feel free to chip in. Okay, so let's see.
Sorry for surprising you with impromptu.
No, I enjoy letting you guys go off the rails. That way it doesn't seem like I'm railroading you. Let's see. Do combination tasks. I just
avoided injury is spend 2 momentum or suffer a complication. Only once proceed.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I found it just as you said it. So yeah, it is 2 momentum.
Then I'll spend a determination.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, what would be the value in play here?
You mean the talents? Wait, no, where do my values go? Oh, there they are. loss can motivate.
Sure, I'll allow it. All right. So, again, to try to put a narrative spin on this. So, Hailong almost mimics your sort of feint, where she looks like she's favoring her opposite side of the one you struck her on. And as you go in, thinking it is a ploy, or maybe I don't know. Would you say it's a ploy, or would you just go for it regardless?
I'll go for it regardless.
Okay. So Hailong sees that you're not going for it at the last moment, and she brings up her blade and almost like knocks yours aside. And you note that as the blade slides across your chest, it's just deep enough that it slices the uniform but does not draw blood. And then you both of you kind of whirl apart and sort of face each other again.
All right. I guess my moves next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would be the active and she would be the defender.
I'd like to I want to attempt to knock her off her feet with like a sweeping attack, to kind of get her on her back.
Okay. I'll say if you want to forgo the vicious effect, I'll allow you that if you roll an effect, you can use the knockdown trait instead.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So let's see those daring plus security rolls.
I'd like to use a momentum too.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right, so that's one for you. I think Hailong will probably spend her momentum. Just because, she likes showing off a little bit. Okay. If it's all the same to you, I'm not going to even roll her challenge die. So, describe kind of your last gambit before I do my rebuttal.
I want to kind of come at her as if I'm going to do an overhand, but at the last second, pull it back, bring it down low, and kind of try to sweep it out at her legs.
So, in a surprising display of agility, what Hailong does is she kind of rotates on the spot, and as you come in with your sword at her legs, she uses her tail to almost slap the blade down towards the ground. And Panek, as you stumble to recover, Hailong brings the blade right up to your neck and stops and smiles and kind of waits for you to reply.
The picture of composure, not a hair out of place or a sweat drop on him. He nods and he concedes. He says, "This was quite enlightening."
Of course. If you would perhaps like to, or if you would perhaps like me to impart some of my calisthenics programs, I do have several that the Arcadia crew quite enjoyed.
I was looking forward to partaking in them myself and rigorously putting the crew through them. I think your experience would be extremely valuable to my crew.
So she withdraws the blade, kind of offers a hand to kind of help you balance up to your feet again, and as long as you don't take the opportunity to flip her, she will very kind of a very honorable, still seeing you almost like an equal, a very respectful handshake.
I will return it and bow to her as we leave combat.
Okay. So, what is everybody else's reaction to this? Hailong just won.
Maddox not surprised.
Well, it was Panek, not Chatsu.
That is true. The captain is politely collapsed and says, "Well, he put up a good struggle." And as he surreptitiously tries to hide the giant foam IDIC Live Long and Prosper glove that was on his hand under his chair.
Oh boy. So for sake of argument, some people on the ship are a little bit more rich in latinum, and some are kind of less. But that's one scene. So all that goes on. Matic, I think it's probably a time to get one of your objectives in.
I want to speak with the captain in his ready room.
In his ready room. Okay. Why is the holodeck so far away? So the one thing I don't like about Roll20 sometimes is that I have to scroll maps. Let's see. So those two are not
I'm
there.
off getting a brand new uniform, so I'm not there.
Yeah, you're not there. There you go. You should be able to see yourself in his ready room now.
Yeah. The moment I walk in, I have 2 data pads in my hand. I look at the captain, and this is the most serious the captain has seen Matic. Like, it is time for a discussion. Matic closes the door, hits a button, and says, "Computer, do not disturb mode, authorization Matic, Sierra Nevada Alpha, 325."
And the computer does indeed beep and says room secured.
An interesting entrance, Mr. Maddock. What brings you in?
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that brings me in. The sensors are done. We finished that a day early. Not surprising. You have a pretty good crew.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to serve with them.
Yeah.
But you didn't seal my office just to tell me I had a good crew, did you?
No, I didn't. You're a smart one, Captain. I can see why they put you in charge.
That makes one of us. Yeah.
Matic will hand over the first data pad. It's all the information that he has on the Andromeda portal.
Okay. So, Skull, you take this pad, and you see that, of course, it does have a need-to-know classification, but it is quite literally almost all of the Daystrom Institute's research into the sensor readings you took of the portal.
I just raised an eyebrow, put the pad aside. I'm like, been there, done that, literally. So I'm
The
just now
Institute would
waiting
like
for the
to
other
know. The Institute is curious about its usage. Have you? I mean, I know you've been to the other side. These planet killers. What's your take on them?
The crew's take on them, mine included, is what would happen is the planet killers are a remnant of what would happen if a pre-gunpowder age technology found handguns or other solid shot weaponry and could not really dispose of them. They would know at least that the bullets that came out of those guns were deadly. So they would find a way to pull the firing pin out of them and destroy the firing pin. So what we have is, my estimation is, what is basically weapon casings on the other side. Perfect examples of how to work with and fashion neutronium, but I suspect that there is no weapon. There's no conceivable way that we would be able to get the weapons activated. Nor do I want to see those weapons activated.
The Institute's pretty divided on that, Captain.
Why does that not surprise me? My crew was pretty divided on that.
You also got to remember who all's at the Institute.
People who are a lot smarter and higher ranking than me, that's for sure.
I'm not a higher rank.
No, but I'm willing to bet you're smarter.
We're all smart we're all intelligent in our own ways.
Agreed. And so, are you here in order to solicit further information from this Andromeda Galaxy?
I'm here to... Let's say there's two parts to this testing. The first part is seeing how well this Chronoton sensor suite does on a starship. After that, we're going to see how well it does detecting anything coming through a portal.
I see. So you're looking to put an early warning system in place.
It's better than having no warning system.
Agreed. I mean, even the Deep Space Nine wormhole has elevator neutrinos that give them roughly 30 seconds heads up.
Yeah. Granted,
Okay.
the ones that I'm putting on the portal are a little more advanced than the ones that I've put on your ship.
I would expect nothing less, actually.
Yeah.
Be aware, though, Mr. Maddock, that I did make a vow that I would do anything to prevent those planet killers from coming through that gate. And that means destroying said gate if it comes to it. So if any of your Daystrom Institute buddies have plans of somehow bringing one of those things through, it's going to be a rough time for everyone involved.
I think the current plan that is in favor of activation of them has us activating them on that side.
I would hope that they don't get activated at all, but there's legitimate scientific knowledge that could be learned from them. Hopefully that it does not include their weapons.
So, did you make contact with any species over there?
None. And legitimately none. Like, that isn't even a classified answer. We only had time to explore one system. I'm sure you have the system's specific. I'm sure you have what the doctor's analysis of the system in your report. Doesn't look like there's any trace of any local advanced civilizations, but we didn't really have a good chance to look. We were a little otherwise occupied.
Well, that's interesting to know. How stable is this portal?
Well, it's survived roughly, by our estimates, at least several thousand years in its current form. It showed no sign of degradation or fluctuation after being inactive for all that time. I suspect it will be as stable as the Bajoran wormhole, if not even better, because it doesn't, to our knowledge, it doesn't have wormhole aliens inside of it.
Oh yeah, they're prophets or whatever they're calling them.
Yeah, not my religion. I just call them wormhole aliens.
Eh.
Why? What
And-
makes you? Are you?
Go ahead.
Are you aware of any Andromeda aliens that we might be aware of?
Maddox smiles. This doesn't leave this room, obviously.
Naturally.
And he will hand over a data pad concerning Andromeda.
Okay.
Quick rundown is she is a alien from Andromeda that the Arcadia found. She has a bioengineered suit on her, so it's attached to her. Has nanites in her bloodstream that allow for quick repairs. There's also the log from Ensign Los, whatever.
I think it was from Rouge, actually.
Oh, Rouge. Okay. One of the ensigns that we use that describes her in combat. The general gist is that she was surrounded by 30 enemy soldiers and was able to take them out in a matter of minutes, unarmed.
And if I can add two other bullet points.
Yeah.
So before the Arcadia came into contact with this alien that is obviously named Andromeda, She apparently, based on all available data, drifted through space for several thousand years. So she came through the Great Galactic Barrier that surrounds the Milky Way. Um, and that was a whole episode of the Arcadia. We won't rehash it, but she was in space for a long time, and she survived through all of it, which is no minor miracle. The other thing to note, and how do I want to say this? Oh, that's how I want to say it. Based on what you're reading, Skull, Andromeda says that she's a farmer or kind of an agriculture specialist from her people. So flavor that as you will, what you've just heard, both as both in regards to the nanotechnology, in regards to how she fights, things of that nature.
This is both fascinating and, albeit admittedly, slightly terrifying news, Lieutenant Commander.
Should see her in a fight.
I'd rather not, honestly. But, do we have any inclination where her homeworld might be in relation to this portal?
Are we 100% sure of where the portal ends up? Like, do we know where in the Andromeda Galaxy it ends up? Because I thought we were able to figure out where her planet is, weren't we?
You would have. I don't think I included in your notes, though. No, I didn't. So the general answer to that is that the portal comes out on one of the spiraling arms, so kind of towards I think it's spinward is the proper term.
Yep, spinward is outer, coreward is inside.
Okay, yeah. So it's definitely out on the fringes of the Andromeda Galaxy's arms. And if what Andromeda has told the Arcadia is true, then her people are nearer to the galactic center, or coreward. But they would be on the opposite side of the galaxy, of the Andromeda Galaxy, from where the portal dumps out.
Okay. So I say that to Skull. So it would... Sol is relatively close to the edge of the Milky Way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would be like us going from Sol to the other side of our galactic center.
Sol to
It's-
basically where Voyager was dropped off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, maybe a little closer inward, but yeah.
Closer to where God lives.
Yes, God. May we never speak of God again. Okay. Or the one, I think he preferred to call himself.
Yes, he
We're
was
on
the
the
one.
Sagittarius arm of the Milky Way.
Right. Interesting intelligence. See, isn't it nice when Starfleet officers can put aside their classification levels and share information?
It can be, but,
Operational
loosely sink
security.
ships.
Operational security, I understand. Very
Here's
well.
the thing I will say. She doesn't know about this portal. I am, besides this crew, the crew on this ship, and maybe 7 other people at the Daystrom Institute, we're the only people that know about the portal. So, she doesn't know. I don't think I'm going to tell her. It's too far away from her home. Granted, she's several thousand years old, and I do regular tests with her nanites just because I think they're interesting. There's a chance that she may be able to live long enough for us to be able to get over to her people. But she was also adrift for several thousand years. She
Yes,
could be the last of her kind.
Or her kind have evolved as much again, and she would just be as much an outsider to them as she is to us.
That's also a very valid point.
Well, once the gateway becomes more established and we're able, it would be proper to at least give her the choice. But that's not my call to make. Still, I appreciate you giving me the heads up on this.
You know, I figured that it would play into what all needed to be done. And if we weren't able to see eye to eye, or if you felt I had some other motives, it would have caused problems.
Agreed. Agreed. I much prefer honesty and openness among my crew. It's much easier for trust.
I'll leave you with this last bit of honesty. The Temporal Investigative Division, they won't come search your ship. I'm using this year's technology to make these obsolete chronoton sensors. The original that I based it off of, its technology isn't going to be seen for another 30 to 40 years.
Yeah, I'm just going to pretend you didn't say that, and
Say
thank
what?
you. Precisely. Thank you very much for everything you've done so far to the ship. I look forward to seeing what the tests do.
As am I. And at that, Matic will leave the data pads.
Mm-hmm.
The captain will notice that whenever they're they have a locking, not a locking, but like the encryption on them. It only works if both of his thumbs are on the pad at the same point, or at their design points. If someone else's fingers were there, or if he has only one hand holding the data pad, it's a data pad that just has nonsense on it. It has like shipping manifests from the Enterprise C. Like it's just it makes no sense to anybody.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just going to toss them in a secure storing area under my terrarium.
Okay.
Just mutter to myself, I need to find an animal for that terrarium. Another time, perhaps. And then I'll go back to calibrating or working on endless amounts of paperwork.
Yes. All right. I think this is actually a good time to take a break. So why don't we take 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll jump into you guys testing out the new sensors. So yeah, BRB.
So Hylon remains undefeated across time.
All right, I'm back.
Howdy. So we're gonna set up a temporal portal to send Pnek back to the Arcadia, so I can beat Hylon before she gets this good, right?
I mean, sure. I think that's actually something Matic has been working on, though obviously not for the same reason.
Oh yeah. Whoops.
Now, I suppose I should actually put that blurb about the sensors into Discord as well.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Happy to be here.
All right.
I hope Mr. Maddock is having fun.
I think he's AFK at the moment.
Of course he is.
I hear Locke.
Hey.
All right.
Welcome back.
I'm hearing what I'm assuming is one of Locke's kids.
My wife going dog sound, apparently.
Ah.
Going ultra high pitch for reasons.
Well, I mean, they're dogs. You, of course, they're like cats. The closer you get to a dog, the more high pitched your voice gets.
Yes. Well, it's like, yeah, dog names. They start out completely normal, and then the more you talk to the dog, or the more you use the dog's name, the less it becomes an English word. It's Rusty. It's Rusty! It's Rusty! Oh, Rusty! Who's Rust?
Oh. I unfortunately have to keep my Akita out of the room when I play, because otherwise she will just kind of roll around and make noise.
Since we're messing around with spatial tears and temporal mechanics here, would it be too much if Pinnock programmed a holographic copy of Maddock to kind of surprise him and like insinuate that he's a future him and that he's going to do something horrible?
Is he really from the past or future? What's it?
From the future.
Let's see how things go for the rest of the session. If there's time for it, I'll let it happen.
All right.
The captain is still blissfully unaware of Pinnock's holographic prank. Probably for the
Crew
best,
bonding.
really.
It's for crew bonding. You're building relationships. You read this somewhere.
And no one ever suspects the Vulcan, so, you know.
Hey, all I'm saying is, GM, remember what I sent you.
Oh, I'm sure Pinek will love it.
I'm here.
Welcome
Create
back.
the hologram of a bucket of hot water in someone's hand next time they're sleeping.
Oh no, this is more devious. But before we get into prank war shenanigans, let me get rid of the big old BRB. All right, so the next scene. So this is a scene change. So you are down 1 momentum. Is of course all of you on the bridge, or at least most of you anyway. Becky, you can be there if you want. All of you on the bridge as you arrive at the set of test coordinates. If you wanted to, yeah, it's momentum 1, I believe. If you wanted to, say, look at a star map to know where you are near Nivach, which is also near the Badlands. But yeah, as soon as you arrive at station keeping, Hailong, who's looking over Locke's shoulder, just sort of remarks, well, Captain, I believe the first bit of the test is pretty simple. Just have to see if you can find the target using your normal sensors, and then, depending on how that goes, we'll engage the chronoton sensors, and we'll see how that goes.
Very well. Mr. Locke, if you please.
All right.
All right.
So,
Scanning, Captain.
Locke, I think you know what you need to roll at this point for sensor scanning. But who would like to roll for the ship?
I will.
Okay. Sensors plus science for the ship. The difficulty here is going to be a 4.
I'm going to buy an extra dice with threat, since
Okay.
can be fun. Let's see what happens.
Well, the Ophion is raring to go. All right, you guys get a momentum back. So, you against perhaps it wasn't an impossible task. I would have made it 5 if it was impossible, but you're able to pick out a very faint tachyon radiation core moving around. It would match the size and power output of a Romulan shuttle. The one distinction I'll say that when we do the next scan is that this one you had to rely on pretty much all of your tricks. You had to, say, calibrate the sensors a certain way that would have been very specific to scan for a vessel of this size. Had you not known what you were looking for, this might have gone over your head, if that makes any sense.
Did we use one of the probes or flak torpedoes as well?
I'll say this is just straight with your own sensors. But yeah, you've found the ship, and of course, how you tell the captain this or the rest of the individuals is entirely up to you.
Well, Captain, it's I noticed a power surge, enough power to hide a ship. It is definitely the cloaked shuttle at bearing 136.
I just make a small smirk towards Mr. Maddock. If we can do this well with regular sensors, I can't wait to see what happens with the quantums array.
Can you determine the integrity of our testing ground, Lieutenant Locke?
I'm sorry?
Is that the only cloaked anomaly that we're detecting? And I just want to check to see if we knew if there were any other Romulan ships.
That is the only one I'm detecting. I'm assuming that the cloaked ship I'm detecting is the shuttle and not a completely other Romulan vessel that just happens to be in the area, which I suppose is not impossible.
So Hailong just kind of looks at the data at Locke's console and says, "Not to worry, that's what we're looking for."
I'm not detecting any other cloaked vessels.
Nope.
Very well. Let's engage the quantum array, please.
All right. So same rolls here. The difference is you can spend power pretty much as much as you want. It's repeatable. It's 1 power per 1 reroll. And I don't think I didn't. So we're just going to put an Ophion token here at the back of the bridge. That way we can track power and whatnot. I believe power is the blue bar.
It says our total's 15. We've got 13. I guess that wasn't updated from the big fight.
Let me look at Ophion's sheet, because you're right. You should have 15. That's why. It didn't reset. All right, you should have the 15 total now.
Sensors and science, just to clarify.
Yep. And Locke does same old reason plus science. Okay, the
You wanna spend
Ophion.
1 point of momentum.
The
Where were these rolls when I was fighting Hylong?
yeah.
Oops.
This is
You
the
keep
best
hitting
I've
2 instead of 3 for dice. All right.
This is the best I've ever seen a ship roll. This is pretty impressive.
And now you cursed it.
Yeah. So yeah, Locke, you do have the ability to spend 1 power to reroll that complication.
Sure, let's do that.
All right, down to 14 power.
Might as well test out the trait while we're here.
Exactly. But now, complication is now 19.
Mm-hmm. You rolled an 18.
Let's just keep going and see what happens.
All right, we're down to 13 power.
We roll an 18 again, another complication.
You roll
That's a
another
19,
complication.
so it's a complication.
Are we gonna do it again?
That's not. Oh, it's a complication's kind of like that seems like an ending thing.
Well, I mean, it's up to you. I have ways to flavor whatever success or failure you might have.
Well, we do have the. I did spend momentum. Well, we did get 4 successes altogether, right? Was that enough?
It is enough, yes.
So we detected. We just
Okay,
Yeah,
so
the quantum sensors are detecting it, Captain. Although I'm pushing them a little bit to see if I can get a little bit more scans of it.
Wonderful.
And I think something may be overheating down on deck 4.
So after not even a moment after these words have left Locke's lips, you all hear Murthrin come over the comms and says, "Captain, did you just try to scan something with the new sensors?"
Yes, we were.
Well, we're currently redlining the EPS conduits on deck 5.
Okay. Shut down the system, perform the repairs, and let me know when we can try again, Murthrin.
Of course. I think it'll be fine, though. We just need to give them time to cool down.
Very well. Hey, at least we saw the ship.
Out of character, are these the same EPS conduits that gave us trouble during separation back on the shakedown run?
Nah, these are supposed to be different ones, but if I'm reusing the same ones, then that's just my own memory failing me.
All right.
It's. I guess we need to reinforce the power. Might be a quantum shielding failure. A little quantum, little chronoton spillage out the aft section of the sensors might be weakening some of the EPS conduits to the sensor array.
Well, that's why we performed these tests.
Or it could be the neural gel packs. I imagine chronotons would wreak all kinds of hell with them, causing all kinds of, quantum computing type errors and random surges in processing.
And Hylong thinks about it for a moment and says, "No, I think we accounted in the shielding to prevent your bioneural gel packs from being affected, but it's worth checking out."
Right.
But yeah, mostly for brevity's sake, because there's some specific things I want to get to, and I don't exactly know what people's cutoff time is. I did want to ask is how long would you say you'd go at this calibration?
I want to do a good until it's as efficient as it was before, or close to, because we don't want to be flying less effective sensors.
Okay. I'll say anyone can roll this, but only one of you can. Just roll me a D8. Just a standard straight D8.
If we're going to be using this thing to hunt down these trilithium torpedoes, I think it's imperative we get this thing as calibrated as possible to make sure that, it's stable, it's working.
Agreed.
Okay, well, to kind of peer behind the screen, the D8 basically represents how many hours you'd spend at this. So if you want to spend the full 8 hours, you certainly can. But the magic number will be 3 hours if there are no objections.
If 3 hours is good with the engineers.
Captain,
Yeah?
is it 3 hours? I guess that's missing 3 hours, maybe.
Yes,
Three and a
let's...
half?
Yeah, let's configure it for 3 hours, make sure we got the system going, and then we'll move on to the next stage of testing.
All right. So, obviously, there's... We'll do it because you could get momentum. This time, Locke, since you've found the ship twice now, the difficulty here is only going to be a 2, but I am curious to see how well you do with the new sensor traits. So,
Ship as well.
Yep, ship as well. Well, Ophion is still getting successes, and that's a good thing. All right, so you guys get a momentum. With the assistance of the quantum sensors, you're not only able to detect the cloaked vessel that you found several times now, but you're also able to properly chart out the path it's taking in system. Like before now, you were basically seeing that it was doing lots of random type movement, trying to shake off any sort of pursuer type deals. But now you have sort of a full layout of the quote unquote random action that it is undertaking.
Okay.
Yep, sensors are fully calibrated, Captain. I can now find this ship at the drop of a hat.
Wonderful. Let's see if we're able to put the predictive sensors and tie it in with our weapons array. Miss Shatsu, if you could please link tactical to this quantum array, and see if we can't hit where the Romulan is going to be with a low-energy phaser blast.
Aye, sir. Who would care to roll for Shatsu?
I can do that.
Okay. So the ship will assist with weapons plus security. Ophion didn't feel like helping this time.
And that was insight. No, it was control tactical.
Control plus security.
Security, right. 2 of those, and I have a focus.
Hey, you guys get a momentum anyway. So yeah, since you said it was specifically a low-powered thing, I'm not going to have you roll challenge die damage. But yeah, Shatsu more or less channels the data feed from Locke's console, does a very low-powered phaser burst towards where the shuttle should be, or will be, and sure enough, it impacts the shuttle, and the shuttle does decloak, and it comes to a stop.
Excellent shot, Lieutenant.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. The data here is quite tremendous. I think it'll be great in combat.
Are our computers able to keep up with the increased data from the quantum array?
Well, we do have 2 extra computer cores, so I don't know if I'd want to do it well separated with just the computing power of the primary hull, but all 3 are kind of working together. We definitely have enough processing power to keep up with the 2 different sets of sensor feed.
Well done. Well done indeed. What's next on the docket, Hylong?
Hylon looks over to Matic and says, well, actually, that's it. will, of course, be on the ship if you need us, but as far as I know, this is where we sort of just sit back and relax. Whenever you get to Deep Space Daedalus, just drop us off.
Very
think
well.
it'd be the opportune time to check out our next lead, Captain.
Agreed. Well, if you're going to be on board, Mr. Maddock, you may as well help out. I'm going to brief him quick. Well, everyone on the bridge already knows it, so I may as well just brief him quickly on the trilithium issues with the Romulans. Wherein our next stop is going to be a weapons cache we found a coordinates for in the Badlands. We're hoping to find the weapon smugglers and get some more information out of them.
Sounds interesting.
While
Should
they're
be fun.
talking, I'll just say to Lieutenant Sona, helmsman, prepare course heading Mark 362, Mark 4, and prepare to jump to warp.
Aye, sir. Course laid in.
As we get into the Borderlands, raise shields.
Borderlands.
Badlands.
They're
Borderlands
like
are
the same thing.
Both.
Borderlands is a different place. Lots of guns there.
Guns.
Oh, God. All right, let me push you onto this map. So yeah, actually, I had to steal this from Star Trek Online, but hey. You guys enter the Badlands, and you start to head towards the coordinates you were given by a certain Ferengi bartender. And as you approach these coordinates, you come upon a massive asteroid, or perhaps another ball of rock would be really the way to say it. It's about the size of Deimos that's orbiting Mars in real life. And as you approach, Locke, if you could give me a standard sensor scan. And of course, the ship's assisting with its own sensors plus science. Due to the nature of the Badlands, I'm going to say the difficulty here is a 3.
I'm going to spend momentum to get an extra dice
Okay.
on this proc.
Hey, you get what you need. You're able to determine that...
Actually,
go ahead.
before you get further, I'm actually just going to, because I can re-roll, because I'm going to be cautious, I'm going to try to do that anyway and hopefully get that momentum back.
Yeah, crit fishing is always a good thing.
Exactly.
Until you fail.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was worth a shot. Locke, you find that the interior of this rock has been hollowed out, and there's no life science, but there is life support operating at minimal levels. You're also detecting some certain minerals and other compounds that would be indicative of some sort of weaponry on station.
Captain, I am detecting weaponry on the asteroid moon.
Weapon emplacements or weapon cache? Or both?
The latter.
Cache, I believe, right?
Yeah, just the cache.
Okay. Is it safe for transporters just to beam it directly into one of our cargo holds, or should we send it? Or do you think we should send a team down to survey Panek?
I would suggest we send an away team, sir. There could be other items there that could lead us to both these weapon smugglers and the Romulans they did business with. At the
Very well.
we could take scans for DNA.
Very well. Assemble an away team.
Did I detect any signs of life?
Nope, no signs of life. There is life support, though.
I'll slap my comm badge and say just a security detail, and I'll take Beckett with me. And does Locke want to come?
Sure.
All right.
And I'll take Hylong.
Okay, you take Hylong. All right. All right, so Panek, Locke, Beckett, and where's Hylong? There's Hylong. Hi, Hylong. Shrink Hylong's token down. Okay. So those 4, yeah?
And an extra red shirt.
Oh yeah, and an extra red shirt. We'll just say the red shirt's there. All right. So the four of you beam on over because we're just gonna speed it up a little bit here. You beam on over, and you find yourselves in what I would describe, compared to, say, the Ophion, cramped quarters. Almost as if you were to go down to, say, a Defiant class size. So everything is kind of, well, to put it bluntly, small. The ceilings are low. Hylong has to stoop in order to fit. The corridors themselves are kind of narrow, but thankfully you've arrived on what's basically a cargo bay of some sort, and you see all sorts of containers and canisters and crates that are all just kind of just sitting there. And also of note, there is a data terminal, or at least an access point, right across the cargo bay from where you are now.
I'd like to interject quickly as they're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try to get the Ophion moved to a more strategic point on the planet, or whatever it is. It probably doesn't have a magnetic pole, so I'm hoping there's a dense part of gas that I could hide in that we could keep an eye out for any other approaching vessels.
Sure.
And I'll have Shatsu and Tin keep active sensors, keep an eye out for things.
Okay.
All right. As soon as we get down, I issue orders. I say, Ensign, Chief, establish a security perimeter. Commander Beckett, begin scanning for any DNA traces. Lieutenant Locke, I see an access terminal over there. I'd like you to get on that. See if you can get inside of it, and then I pull out my tricorder, and I've got a security scan kind of going over these crates that we see.
Okay. Beckett, if you would give me a reason plus medicine, difficulty 2.
All right. Would xenobiology get tossed in, being I'm technically kind of sort of scanning for Romulans?
I'm going to say no. It's a bit of a stretch.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, Beckett, you're detecting, obviously traces that a humanoid was here relatively recently, but you're not able to narrow down, say, the species. You just know that someone was here within the last 2 weeks.
Okay. Commander Pinnock, I'm getting that somebody has been here within the last 14 days-ish. Can't really get a lock on what species of person.
We're looking for Nausicaans and perhaps Romulan. Keep at it. If you need to take samples, do so. But do I see anything on my scan of these crates to see if they're trapped?
So the good news, and I'm going to give this to you free. The good news is the containers don't appear to be trapped. You are able to determine that the crates hold approximately 100 phaser rifles, so Type 3 phasers. And there's also other bits of, odds and ends that together could be used as a weapon, but separately would not, really be hard to acquire.
These are Federation phaser rifles or just standard?
Yeah, they are indeed Starfleet issue phaser rifles.
We're going to need to see what we can do about these incursions into our armories.
Do they still have serial numbers?
You'd have to crack a crate open and look.
I'll pop one open then and take a look.
Sure. Yeah, they do in fact have the serial numbers. And I'll give this to you free as well. If you run it through the ship's computer, you'll find that this particular shipment of phaser rifles was basically shanghaied by the Maquis way back when the Maquis were even relevant.
It's an interesting connection. I'll package it back up, and then I'll walk over and check on Locke and how he's getting on with the access terminal.
Yeah. So, Locke, how would you feel about a reason plus security?
Sure.
Okay. Difficulty would be a 2.
Computer hacking focus.
Mm-hmm. Wow, would you look at that? 2 momentum.
I can hack it.
So, according to the station's computer, the last access date was about the same time that the Romulans supposedly traded with the Nausicaans. And because you succeeded so well, I'm also going to give you this for free. There is indeed a Nausicaan quote-unquote profile on record. It is an individual known as Trux, Trux. And apparently he has been sort of the curator of this collection.
Yep. This is I'm detecting some personal logs and musings by a Nausicaan named Trux, as well as some incredibly bad poetry. It seems like this is his little stash. Is there a date associated with the last entry or the last?
I'd say even though you succeeded real well, the Nausicaan at least knows that if someone were to find these logs, he's very good about not putting in writing things that would implicate him. So his logs would all be very vague as to what kind of containers he's moving around. It wouldn't say who he's traded with, but you still would have the access dates, which, could probably be a good lead.
How regular does it seem to be? Is it very infrequent, or does he come by once every week?
He comes about once or twice every 2 months.
And when there's the most recent one, again, fairly recent, a month ago, 2 months ago?
So I have to double check star dates here, but that would have been stardate or somewhere around stardate 54980, which again does match up with the time that this Nausicaan was supposedly trading the torpedo casings to the Romulans.
So it's probably been a little while. Commander, if the Nausicaan could come back anytime in a few weeks, we could put some sort of tracking device or tracing device on these crates and wait for it to be picked up.
That seemed to be the more effective method instead of sticking around for 2 weeks, seeing as how we have 2 trilithium torpedoes still out. Who knows where? Are you able to have this done?
Yep, I could definitely set up some sort of tracking device and or communicator that'll trigger when the crate is moved.
All right. Commander Beckett, have you taken your scans? Are you ready?
I think you're
I
on
am
mute, Beckett.
I am ready, but my mute button is not. Can I get another attempt at that roll?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Alright. Reason. Disarm. No focus. There we go.
That's what you needed. You are in fact not only able to determine basically the bioprofile of Trux, the Nausicaan trader, but you do also get faint traces of what you would believe to be Romulan perspiration. Or perspiration.
Yeah, Commander, I am getting... Now I'm... On second look, I'm now getting Nausicaans, which... I think I have this one you're talking about, trucks, as well as there are signs that Romulans have been here as well.
Very good, Commander. I want you and Locke to return back to the Ophion. If you would care to report our findings to the captain while Locke prepares his tracking device. Long, you're welcome to go back as well, but I will stay and with the ensign to maintain the integrity of the weapon cache while we wait.
Well, if it's all the same to you, sir, I'm of the mind that, well, no offense to the ensign, but you need me more than they need me on the ship.
Very well. Panek to Ophion.
Skull, ahead.
I'm sending back Commander Beckett and Lieutenant Locke. Commander Beckett carries with it their evaluation and report to the beam.
Acknowledged. Get here as soon as you can. In, out.
All right. So, Beckett and Locke, you both beam back over. But before either of you can even start to move to your destination, on the bridge, Maddock, I'd like you to roll me a insight plus engineering.
Would any of my focuses apply?
Let me stare at your focuses.
Power systems, quantum mechanics, warp field dynamics, alien technology, phaser-based weaponry, and prototype engineering.
One of them would apply, yes, but I'm not going to say which.
Ooh, gotta be all mysterious.
All right. I'm going to let this succeed at cost because I think it's better if you bring it up than if I just have an NPC bring it up. So, Maddock, you were expecting maybe some Romulans to peek in because of the shuttle use. So when you see when you see the quantum sensors indicate that there's an incoming tachyon pattern, I think it's safe for me to say you instinctively know how to react to that.
Captain?
Yes.
New sensors are popping up. We got incoming.
All right. Belay that beam out, Mr. Panek. Keep them down there. We're getting company up here. Ray shields, yellow alert.
Okay, everything goes to yellow alert. And almost in very typical Romulan fashion, more like TNG, a Romulan Diderix class warbird does decloak a fair distance away. They're just close on the map because, the map's only so big. But the warbird decloaks and you get hailed.
On screen.
All right. So on screen, you see a female Romulan, different than one you've seen before. And she says, "This is Commander Vetu of the IRW Virus. Who do I have the pleasure of addressing?"
Commander Vetu, I am Commander Barton Skull of the USS Ophion. We are investigating reports of an old smuggler's weapon cache out here in the Badlands. What brings you out this far?
Well, I'd be happy to answer your question, Captain, but perhaps not over open channels. Should I perhaps beam myself to your vessel?
Very well. I shall meet you in our transporter bay shortly.
Excellent.
Can Maddock do it? Is Maddock able to tell off his sensor scan if their weapons are charged or not?
You are indeed, and no, their weapons are not charged.
Okay.
Interesting. Very well. We're keep shields to minimum, just as protection against the Badland energy spikes, and drop them when necessary to initiate transport. Miss Shatsu, please assign a security detail with me. Keep your hands on the weaponry and fire back if they do anything aggressive.
Already ahead of you, sir. All right.
And although this is probably kind of off base, Mr. Maddock, you are the senior officer. The bridge is yours.
Hi, Captain.
All right.
Quick question, Captain.
Yes?
Are you going to bring the away team in, then bring the Romulan in, or are we going to keep them down there for now?
Well, there's no initial hostile intent. Coordinate beam up with Mr. Pinek.
Will do.
Meanwhile, bring them up through transporter room 2. I'll meet her in transporter room 1.
We'll get it worked on, Captain.
Thank you, Mr. Maddock.
All right. And then you go to the transporter room. So, small skip ahead, unless you wanted to do the... I don't know, would you kick the transporter chief out, or would you just kind of let them do it?
No, that's their job. It's a very thankless job, really. So I'll let them do it.
Sure. So the ensign in charge does beam over the Romulan woman known as Commander Vetu. And as soon as she finishes materializing, she just kind of looks around and says, I thought it'd be bigger. You must be Captain Skull. And she steps down from the pad and offers a hand.
Alex, I'll shake her hand. A pleasure, Commander Vetu. Welcome aboard the Ophion.
Indeed. Is there a secure place where you and I, at the very least, can chat?
Absolutely. Chief, beam the two of us to our ready room and notify Mr. Pinek of our new location.
Understood, sir.
I've made my way to the bridge by now to relieve Maddock, and I've instructed Locke to maintain a sensor. Just keep an eye on the base, because I don't want the Romulans beaming over to grab a bunch of Federation phasers to use what they will.
Okay. So, site-to-site transport for Captain and Vetu.
Wait, so we did come back, or we got left at the installation?
We came back.
You came back.
Okay.
Yeah, basically 2 simultaneous transporter rooms were in use on 2 separate parties.
Mm-hmm. Yay,
Okay.
technology.
When you get back to us, I want to chip an idea to Locke for him to also work on while he's working on the like GPS type thing that he's working on.
Sure.
Okay.
What's your?
Oh, I figured you were going to go to the next scene.
No, I'm letting you go ahead before we do the scene with the captain and the commander.
Just an idea for what you're already kind of working on. Do you think there's a way that you can make what's a good word for it? Like a security system that whenever anybody comes in or out, we would know when new people arrive. Something hidden away that maybe couldn't be seen by sensors that we could leave in that installation, because I'm sure the captain's not going to want to blow it up. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I could definitely bring in a low scanning tricorder that emits a continuous but irregular pulse, and just kind of records the data there, but doesn't transmit. If it had low enough power setting, it probably wouldn't be detected unless they were doing a fairly thorough scan.
Yeah, and something maybe if we happen to fly by or another Federation ship could just get a dump of who'd been there type thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I could definitely have it rigged up so if you send a particular code to it, it would trigger an info dump, and then otherwise it wouldn't be transmitting.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I'm thinking. Like just kind of like a dead drop to where we would get the information. But okay, awesome. I just had that thought while we were on our way back.
Cool.
And that's it.
All right. So we do cut to Captain Skull and Vetu. You both materialize in your ready room.
Computer, seal the doors.
All right. Doors are sealed, and I'm assuming you basically do the same thing Maddock did.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Miss Vetu, may I offer you a beverage of sorts, or would you prefer to get down to business?
I will take a drink after our conversation.
Very well. What brings you to the Badlands?
Well, Captain, there's no easy way for me to say this, so I shall be blunt. I understand that Starfleet likes it when Romulans are blunt.
It's our preferred diplomatic strategy, yes.
Well then, to put it bluntly, there is a divide among the Romulan Senate at the moment. By that I mean we recently had a new Praetor come into power, Praetor Huron. And unlike the previous Praetor, he is not as, shall we say, favorable of the Tal Shiar. But perhaps I should start at the beginning.
Please.
Around stardate 54737, the Tal Shiar began to cloister themselves while funneling all of their efforts into an unknown project. Now, as a seasoned Romulan commander, I feel rather confident in saying that this is unusual, even for them. Though I am not privy to most of their goings on, the sheer level and cross, I guess you could say, department manner in which they have done this is very unusual. And this activity continued along until about stardate 54950. At that time, the acting head of the Tal Shiar was seen before the Senate. He assured the senators that the resources he'd been given had been used to great effect and that results would come shortly. And the only reason I am privy to such information is because of Praetor Huron, for the reason which I'm sure you're aware. And she pulls out kind of a hollow emitter of her own, and you see a real-time view of the Grion star system as the sun implodes.
Okay. As I'm sure you're aware, Ophion has investigated the aftermath of that particular cataclysm.
Yes, we are aware of such.
Okay. Allow me to be equally blunt. Why do you bring this information to us? I was always under the aware that the Romulans preferred to solve their own problems.
We do, but I think I need not call to the point, or call as a point of order, that you left a Mogai class drifting towards our border, and had a very angry Tal Shiar agent aboard.
Angry, but alive.
This is true. I come to you because it is Praetor Huron's specific directives that we not have a repeat of the Battle of the Omarian Nebula. I'm sure you are familiar with such, yes?
Let me check my wiki.
Yeah, I'll say, add a character. The Omarian Nebula was when the Tal Shiar and the Obsidian Order tried to go kill the Founders.
Sounds right.
And
the Founders,
they...
First, they were decimated.
Yeah, it was their equivalent of Wolf 359.
Yes, I recall reading Starfleet's intelligence of the incident was minimal, but it did not end very well for either the Obsidian Order or the Tal Shiar.
Indeed. The Romulan Empire has no... I believe the expression is pony in this race.
Close enough.
We do not wish to see open conflict with the Federation. However, based on your own experiences, I think it is safe for me to tell you that there are those of us that believe the Tal Shiar thinks differently.
I'm starting to understand why. Are you So the Tal Shiar are in possession of more of these trilithium warheads?
That is correct.
Okay. I don't suppose you have any intelligence where these warheads may be, or where they might be pointed at?
I'd be willing to share such data with you. Perhaps we can. Again, I believe the phrase is gathering of the minds.
Very well. What information do you seek in return?
Anything that you would have that could implicate the Tal Shiar in any, shall we say, unwarranted endeavors, whether that be ship deployment, station deployment, really any sort of activity that you may have noticed up until this point.
Lady, do I have information for you? um, very well. I shall collate. We have had some incidents with the Tal Shiar during our ship's voyage. I shall compile such records and transfer them to your ship. At the same time, you can transfer. Upon transferring the information to us, you shall receive our information.
Excellent. And she stands and offers her hand in a very cordial way, and she says, I'm glad we were able to see eye to eye on this matter. I was honestly afraid that you were perhaps not going to take what I said to you at what its meaning meant. I understand that there is a stigma among my people that, well, perhaps among your people, that Romulans are not to be trusted.
It's most of the encounters that the Federation have are usually traced back to Tal Shiar in origin, and however those where the Federation have dealt with those of the Imperial Navy have often been more straightforward. It is easy to judge an entire culture by its worst elements.
Very, very astute of you, Captain. Oh, and if it's not too much trouble, I'm interested in trying a Earth beverage. I understand
yes.
it is known as a cream soda. And that's where we're going to end the session. I threw that in there. I had to give our lovely friends at Shield of Tomorrow a small shout out. So yeah, good session, guys. Of course, players and Maddox, stick around. But to anyone watching either on Twitch or on YouTube, thank you for watching, and bye-bye.